Welcome back for some more math time. And today's concepts are probably very new to you. Some of you have probably heard of symmetrical before. I think you've dealt with that one before in first and second grade. But the terms similar and congruent, those are probably very new to you. So not as hard as maybe it seems to get started here. Just remember that red box at the top. That is kind of your anchor point, your resource place to go back. So when you're feeling maybe a little unsure whether you have got the concept down all the way, go back and refer to this box up here at the top. It's there to help us. All right, so we're going to read through that though. They're introducing similar and congruent. Similar figures have the same shape. Okay, so when we describe figures as being similar, it means that they're the same shape. Here at the top we have two hexagons. They're both hexagons. Okay. Now, if we want to further describe those shapes, if we say that they're congruent, not only do they have the same shape, but they also have to be the same size. Whereas here we have one is larger than the other. So they're similar, having the same shape, but because they don't have the same size, we can only describe them as similar. Whereas congruent means that not only do they have the same shape, they also have the same size. So let's try a few here in the next section. They give us 4 groups of shapes. In this first one, we have 2 green circles, and we're supposed to write whether they're similar or congruent. Well, they're both circles, so then I need to look, are they the same size? It's the same shape, yes. Same size, yes. So I would describe these as being congruent. Okay, we'll do a few more. I think this will make a lot more sense as we go through it. Let's look at number 2. What shape do we have here? Right, they're both octagons, correct? Even if they were different colors, they would both still be octagons. But are they the same size? And I'm sure you're telling me no. I wish I could hear you. But they're not. So we can't describe them as congruent like we did the circles. Instead, we would describe these as similar. Like in shape, but different in size. We'll come down to number 3. Okay, what shape do we have here? We have triangles. All right, so they're both triangles. Yes. Are they the same size? No, one's larger than the other. So again, we can only describe these as similar, having the same shape, but being of different sizes. The last one is we have green squares here, the bright green squares, and they are the same shape. They're both squares, they're both quadrilaterals, and do they have the same size? Yes, they do. So we would further describe these as being congruent. Sorry about that, I can't talk today. Congruent shapes, figures. All right, so that's really the difference. If they're congruent, they're exactly the same shape and exactly the same size. Figures that are similar, you're just telling someone that they are the same shape. They're both circles or triangles or rectangles or hexagons or octagons, but one is larger or smaller than the other, is really all that comes down to. In numbers 5 through 8 here, we're looking at something called symmetry, or the line of symmetry. So if I go back up to the red box here, it says a symmetrical figure can be folded so that both parts match. Okay, and the line upon which you could fold them, that is called the line of symmetry. So this can be really hard. Some of you are your visual skills are some of your stronger skill set. And so you're able to really visualize what would happen. Others of you, this is a little bit harder, and that's okay. Remember, we're developing these skills. We look at number 5, okay? And it looks kind of like a capital T, doesn't it? They want to know if the dotted line here that goes diagonal across, if I was to fold the T, would this part, when I fold it down to here, would it match up exactly with this part? Okay, right? It won't, will it? Now, the letter T does have a line of symmetry, but the line of symmetry would actually go right down the middle. And if I folded this side over or this side over, these side lines would match. So this one we're not going to circle because the diagonal line they drew is not a line of symmetry. What about number 6? We have a semicircle. If I was to fold this in half right there on the dotted line, would this side and this side match up? Yeah, they would. Okay, so this figure does show a line of symmetry right down the middle. Okay, very good. Number 7, we have a pentagon here. What if we folded this pentagon on the dotted line? Would we have a line of symmetry? Does the top half look exactly like the bottom half? If we were to fold the top over top of the bottom, would they match up? They wouldn't, would they? Now, this pentagon does have a line of symmetry, but instead of horizontal, the line of symmetry for this shape would actually go here. Okay, so many shapes do have a line of symmetry. It's just here, this isn't the line they drew, isn't the line of symmetry. So we would not circle number 7. What about number 8? We have an oval, right? We have an oval here. Is this dotted line a line of symmetry for the oval? If we folded it, would the top and bottom halves match up? Yes, they would. So number 8, this is a line of symmetry. So we would circle that one. I'm hoping that wasn't maybe a new concept for you, something that you remember kind of like, oh yeah, I remember talking about this some time ago. We'll keep practicing that. That's going to come back up, you know, as we are building your math foundation, we're getting you ready. These are just some early geometry concepts that we're working on adding to your foundation. Now the next part is really much more difficult. We're talking about the slide, the flip, and the turn. Okay. And they give you pictures here. And actually in our Zoom session today, we're going to talk about this because this is really difficult for students. Okay, so I'm going to try to simplify it a little bit to help you. And we're just, again, we're going to keep practicing it. And hopefully when we're able to be back together, we'll go over this again and just give it some more practice and more time for the concepts to really sink in and you to really grab a hold. A slide is exactly that. It's just a moving an object from one position to another. You notice that they use a math book, and you can see the front of the math book, and the orientation doesn't change, right? It's not being turned at all. It's just being, they're sliding it either up or down or right or left. That is called a slide. Exactly what it says. You're just taking it and sliding it, moving it. You don't pick it up. Number 2 is a flip. And a flip is where you take an object, right? Like I have this card here about a trapezoid, and I would take it. A flip is where I would actually just flip it over. And so you're going to see the back side of that card. Same thing here in this picture. They have a math book and they flip the math book. So in the first picture, you see the front, and the second image, you'll notice how the binding went from the left side to the right side, and we're looking at the back of the book. That is called a flip. So a lot of times they'll put a black dot on a shape. If the black dot disappears, there's been a flip. Okay? If the black dot just changes position then it's been a turn where you're just taking the object and you're pivoting it. You're turning it 1 or 2 positions, either to the right or to the left. Why don't we try a few of these together, and maybe that'll help it. It'll just illuminate this a little bit better for us. So let's look at number 9. The first image is the math book. We can see the words math. The dark spine is on the left. When I look at the next picture, it's just a copy of it. Math is still at the top. The spine of the book is still on the left. So we are just sliding the image over. So this is called a slide. There's no change. It just looks like I copied and pasted the same image. In number 10, we have a triangle. Remember, I mentioned that black dot. Notice that the black dot starts at the top, but then in the second picture, it's to the side. So we're turning this shape. The black dot didn't go away, so I know we didn't flip it over. Instead, it's just called a turn. We're just turning it. We're pivoting it. Number 11, we have a circle with a star on it in the first picture. When I look at the second picture, the star is gone. That would indicate that this shape has been flipped over, and we're now looking at the back side. So we call that a flip. So let's look at the last one now. We've had one of each. So let's see what they give us this time. We have a square with a star in the first picture. In the second picture, we still have a square, but the star is gone. We have the front side. Now we have the back side. What do we call that? We call that a flip. Very good. All right. I hope that helped. I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera, and then I'll record the session for the back, and we'll do some more practice with this today. Okay, I'm excited to talk to you next time. Bye.